Great to be back in Vegas. Always good to be in Vegas. I think I might, obviously, we're happy to be here. It's not easy to get here. There's only 16 of us left, so we take the opportunity very seriously. So we're not here for vacation. Everything we work for is hopefully to win 4 more games. So got to find a way to win tomorrow night. I have great respect for our opponent. Obviously, we've played him the last couple of years. Everybody knows about the Final Four game. So I have great respect for them.
All right, Dan.
Yeah, Dan Wolken, USA Today. Mick, the way college basketball is now, it's pretty rare to have multiple players from a Final Four game 2 years ago that are still, in college and playing in this one. How do you think that plays with your guys, just in terms of, understanding what they're up against tomorrow?
Oh, I think they definitely do understand, which would be, I agree, rare, right, this day and age in college basketball. But, just like Watson and Timmy understand, so they got the same kind of guys, which is why both teams probably have, I don't know their record, but I'm sure they got over 30 wins. So, or I know we got 31. So there's a reason that we got a lot of wins, over 60 combined probably between us. So, I think it makes it is. I'm sure people in this room, like yourself, Dan, wish it was more like that. We're all getting older, and we, think about how we, college basketball was great when Leitner and Hurley played together for a long time. I know I'd like to coach Kareem and Bill for 6 years, 3 and 3.
On the side here.
That'd be really nice.
Ben Balch, Los Angeles Times. Before the season, somebody asked you if this could be your best defensive team at UCLA, and you kind of chuckled and said, no, too many freshmen.
Yeah.
But it's funny how it played out, right?
Yep.
And looking at those freshmen, it's like now you would almost want more of those guys because they've been so good. What's gone into making this your best defensive team with guys like Adem, Amari, Will, Dylan making such big defensive contributions?
Well, you said this actually to me early. I remember you said this is the most athletic team you've had. And I learned from Coach Huggins 20 years ago, or more than that now, 23 years ago since I worked for him. You got to be able to erase mistakes. Great defense. You can't just be good. You're not always going to be perfect. So defense, the great teams can erase mistakes. And you do that with the better athletes you have a much better chance to erase a mistake. So there's times where there might be a guy open, but Amari Bailey's such a great athlete that he deflects the pass. Or Dembona changes the shot. Kenneth Nuba blocks the shot. And then to combine that with the seniors that we have, back to the experience, that they're in the right place 99% of the time. But your freshmen are so athletic that they can make up for their athleticism supersedes their inexperience at times, and their toughness. As I'm a big believer in that. So the guys, the two that have started for us all year, unbelievably tough, athletic kids. Amari Bailey's an unbelievably tough, athletic kid, and so is Dembona. Now, we've been able to keep it going without the best perimeter defender I've ever coached, and the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year, Jalen Clark. So, we just had the makings of that team, of a team that could be great defensively.
Steve?
I know Steve Karp with the.
Good to see you, man.
Hi, good to see you with the Sporting Tribune. You've been around the game a long time. You remember when Las Vegas was not seen in a good by the NCAA.
I read that article.
In a good light. You're here playing in an NCAA regional. How's that wash with you as a guy who comes here every year with his team and has had no problems in terms of dealing with Vegas?
Long overdue. Long overdue. So I'll just try to be pointed. You guys know me, I'm always honest. Long overdue. Great city. probably the best city in our country to host an event. The Final Four was just a matter of time once Allegiant was built. But we all know why, that the NFL, once the NFL came here, it was going to open it up for everything else. I mean, that's just the facts. And then, once state legislators started passing and allowing FanDuel and DraftKings and all that stuff, then it was okay. Somebody's always got to make a move first. And the NFL made the move here first to Vegas. I think that probably opened it up. Obviously, you need the arena. But Thomas and Mack is an unbelievable building. Could have hosted a lot of tournaments. I'm sure that's what you're thinking. So just happy for the city. Well deserved. Long, long overdue.
Mark?
Mick, Mark Anderson, AP.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, 3-point shooting percentage is down this year compared to previous tournaments. Any explanation for that?
You'd have to give me the numbers.
Like 31 something percent. It's generally been over 32.
So we're talking about 1%?
Yeah.
If we're not talking about my portfolio, I'm not interested. Are you serious? We're talking about 1%? Wow.
It's been consistently over 32. This is probably a little bit of a dip.
Well, we got rid of the teams that can't shoot. Now let's play.
Okay, in the back.
Sam Gordon, Las Vegas Review-Journal. Mick, Will's playing a lot of big games here in Las Vegas,
Yeah.
none bigger than the one tomorrow. How would you kind of contextualize his journey through the program to the point when you met him in recruiting to, going through the injury, the adversity, and where he is now?
Yeah, well, Grant Rice is a good friend of mine. Somebody, he easily could be a college coach, but he's smart enough to have a normal life and a great family. Brooke probably wouldn't let him do it, even if he wanted to. But he told me right away. I called him when I got the job. Who should I recruit on your team? And he immediately, he said that Will McClendon's he's good enough, and he's a UCLA kid. Grant obviously is from Southern California, so he knows the tradition, the history of what our academics are about. And he was right on all accounts. Will just had a traumatic ACL injury. It scared him, and it was scary. He was in pain, tough recovery, but he's back to normal now. And right now, look, in this team, he's just playing a role for us. He's trying to be Jalen Clark while Jalen Clark's out. I know Will, as you know, is a big shot maker at Gorman. He was known as Big Shot Will. So, and I still know he's got it in him. We work with him every day on it, just trying to keep his confidence up. Obviously, his numbers show. If you didn't know him, you'd think, well, he's not a shooter. But if you watch high school basketball in Las Vegas, you know that's what he was. But he's just a winner, and I believe in winners. So that Grant knows me. He knows what I'm looking for. This kid's a winner. He's your type of guy. And guys help you win a lot of ways. So right now in his career, he's helping us win with intangibles and toughness and defense. But I know the day's coming, he's going to help us win with shots, too.
In the very back.
Dennis Patchen with KHQ SWX. Gonzaga played here a year ago against you. You played 3 games here in this building 2 weeks ago. The fact that you both are familiar with this facility, is that going to make for a better game, do you think, tomorrow? Because the newness is not here?
Again, I maybe. I think that's media stuff. Yeah, I think that's media stuff. Like, I don't know about all that stuff. I think, I don't care where the game is, what ball you're using. Players play. I mean, I never heard Michael Jordan. I grew up in the Michael Jordan era. When I was young, he was the best player ever. Kareem was older when I was, a little bit. So, guys, I just never heard guys like that talk about stuff like that. I was raised on the great Oscar Robertson. My dad talking about him all the time. I never heard them guys talking about the gym and, the ball. And I don't believe in that stuff. To me, it's all soft. That's just how I look at it. I mean, them guys back then, man, they drank beer, whatever. You were interviewing them, got on a commercial flight, and Larry Bird got 50 the next night. So, and I don't know, what the hell kind of ball they were using or what gym they were even in.
All right, right down front.
Connor Morissette, Sports Illustrated Media Group. Coach, what makes Gonzaga such a difficult team to play against?
They have 3 things: coaching, plus, Drew Timme, and shooting. How's that for you? and not just shooting from one guy. They have multiple shooters, a great go-to player that has over 100 assists, very rare for a big guy, and AAA coaching.
Coach, this is probably media stuff too, but
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. That's fine.
Adam Hill, Las Vegas Review-Journal. Tomorrow's the 17-year anniversary of the UCLA Gonzaga game where UCLA had the comeback. Obviously, you guys have the recent games
Now,
against
you
them.
know 17 years ago, I wasn't at UCLA, so who was in that game?
That was the Adam Morrison on the court. UCLA had the big comeback in that game. I'm not asking about that game in
Okay.
particular. I'm just saying the rivalry has developed over this time. You guys have played the last 2 years. Two of the premier programs, obviously, on the West Coast, probably the two premier programs. I guess what makes this rivalry kind of special right now, and is that a good thing for the sport of college basketball?
Oh, look, all that stuff's good for college basketball. Yeah. Playing big games, that's why Coach Few and I decided to try to get that game going last year. It was good for our, we played terrible, but that give them because of them. But, it's all good for college basketball, absolutely. Anything that generates interest is good for college basketball. So I think, as a coach, you got to be willing to schedule those kind of games.
Dan?
Yeah, Dan Walken, USA Today again. Mick, I'm curious, how do you address it or approach it with your team when you lose a player important to you like Jalen Clark late in the season? And your guys are smart, they understand what it means, but it doesn't seem like, from a mental standpoint that it's rattled them at all.
It's because of the way we operate all year. That our other guys, you got a scholarship for a reason, and we operate under that. It's never okay to lose. So it doesn't matter who's playing. Now it may be a little bit harder to win. We might have to make some adjustments, but we're going to tell you how to win, and we got to be tough enough to figure it out. That's just what it boils down to. You got to be tough enough to do whatever you got to do to win the game. So, if it's somehow we got to find a way to contain Drew Timme and not give up 1,000,000 threes tomorrow, regardless of who's playing for us, because we got some guys day to day. So, if it doesn't go our way, I'm not going to come in here and say, we lost because these two guys weren't playing or these three guys weren't playing. We're still going to get to play 5-on-5. You got to be tough enough to figure it out if you want to win.
Right here in the middle.
Tarek Patel from Los Angeles Daily News. Hey, Coach. Specifically, Dylan Andrews, everything about him has elevated. You mentioned he was
It's all
plus 10.
coaching, man. Look who he plays for.
His ability to evolve and help the team on such a big stage in more minutes and more shots. Can you just talk about that?
Yeah, he was plus 10 the other day against Northwestern. His defense, you saw, if anybody you really watched that Northwestern game, how good he is defensively on the ball. So, and it's look, his comfort zone offensively is really hard for a young player if they don't get extended. For any player, if you don't get extended minutes, it's just hard to get in any type of rhythm offensively. But again, he's young, he's playing on a team with some great talent, and he's embraced his role. Which is, again, there's a reason why you have a bunch of wins. It's not the four letters. It's not the coaching. The guys buying into what they need to do to be a 31-win team, and he's a great example of it. You could look at his numbers and say, well, he hasn't had a great freshman year, and I couldn't disagree with you more. Like in what we needed him to be this year, he's done a great job of it.
All right, final question from Chris in the back. I apologize on the Zoom, but we only have 1 minute left on our satellite. So, Chris, go ahead.
Coach Chris Matthews, KLAS TV here in Vegas. Can you quickly, I'm sure you mentioned this before, you talked about what's good for college basketball.
Yeah.
What about the transfer portal, the NIL, kind of that wild, wild west, and your thoughts on that and how it's kind of changing the game of college basketball?
Yeah, I think it's just different. It's, you got to look at it as different. The dying words of every successful business is somebody sitting there saying, well, this is how we've always done things. And I would remind that to the new head of the NCAA. They better heed those words if they want the NCAA to exist and continue. They better heed those words. So I'm glad you asked that question, because players getting paid is coming. The government in our country got to a point where they're interceding to force NIL And the next thing is going to the Alston case, Supreme Court. I mean, it's just a matter of time, and we better figure it out if we want to continue. And lobbying to stop it or hoping it's the ship's coming back to port is not the answer. We have to figure it out.
Coach, thank you.
All right,
and
guys.
Good luck tomorrow night.